Thank you, Chair Cottrell, members of the board, Steve Lederer, Public Works Director. I have already introduced Lee Sears, who is our Lake Berryessa Resort Program Manager. I'd also like to introduce Tim Wilkins, representing Margaritaville and the potential developer at Steel Canyon, and Chris Silk, our district engineer for Napa Berryessa Resort Improvement District. The water wastewater system up there is also with us today in case any of the questions go in that direction. Our goal today is to provide the board an update on the 4 resorts that the county has responsibility for under the Managing Partnership Agreement, the MPA, with the Bureau of Reclamation, BOR. I'm going to try and keep the acronyms at least defined here. So Lee is going to give us an update on the status of the 4 resorts. She'll also give the board an update on the status of the mussel program up there. There's been a lot of discussion about that, and the board had asked for that update. As I mentioned, Tim Wilkins is here to give a brief update on his development team. We'll obviously receive some public comment at time appropriate for the chair. Ultimately, the only action we're asking for the board to take is to approve a 5-month extension of the exclusive negotiating agreement, or ENA, between the county and the Margaritaville, the Tim Wilkins Group, and that 5 months is requested because there were some federally related delays in the process, so we would like to give the development team that time back to continue their work. And then I'm going to close with a couple of items we're dealing with the BOR on, and just to give the board an update on that. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Lee, who's going to, as I said, give an update on the 4 resorts and the mussels program.
Good morning, everyone. So the 4 sites we have available right now that are in development, that are under the total scope of different sites with the BOR is Steel Canyon and Berryessa Point and Monticello and Spanish Flat. And Steel Canyon is being operated by an interim concession, but it is under an ENA agreement with Camp Margaritaville and Tim Wilkins. Berryessa Point is, I have a couple of private companies looking at it for potential marina facilities only at that site. That would include over maybe 300 slips in totality, but it would be probably done sort of in increments. It would have fuel station and marina office. I'm working on trying to get them in an ENA agreement sometime in the next 30 to 60 days. For Monticello Shores, I have a multinational and international company that would do a joint venture that is looking at this site as well for a resort, a full-service resort. And we're just in the process right now of discussing what they might do, what they would want to do, and hopefully would maybe in the next 60 to 90 days get them in an ENA agreement as well. Spanish Flat right now is operated as an interim agreement, and I'm leaving it as it is right now. I'm not sort of sending it out for open bid or taking any projects that would offer it up for development. It's staying it's sort of a small mom and pop operation, and it's on a interim concession agreement as well.
Thank you. So I think at this point I will go ahead and open it up for public comment, and then I will bring it back to the board for questions and discussion. So good morning.
Good morning. Hey, this is really nice to see this female board of supervisors. Congratulations. I'm excited. Also impressed with the scope of the work that you're undertaking, and I'm always very proud of Napa County. I have to say, I tell everybody that I love Napa everywhere I go, and it's not just because it is what it is, but the politics of Napa and the concerns and the heartfelt concerns. And I was just listening when you were talking about community, and I was thinking, the work that's been done. Lee Sears has made herself available. I live up in Lake Berryessa. I am actually the president of the Lakeview Estates Landowner Association.
And could you just state your name for the record?
I'm sorry, I didn't say my name.
No
Roseanne DeMoro, DeMoro. And I've been in public life like forever, so I have a full appreciation for what you do. So everybody up there, I'd say 90% of the people at least obviously support the resorts. And we're really excited about the fact that you chose Margaritaville because the environmental, I'm an environmentalist. I belong to the Sierra Club, Friends of the Earth, you know, all the right things, and believe in the right things. But I've studied this. So when this came in and we heard about it, I put, you know, these Google searches where you can get information every day about what you care about. And two of them were Lake Berryessa, and one is Lake Berryessa, and the other is Camp Margaritaville in Margaritaville. Because I wanted to see what was going on nationally in terms of any kind of environmental complaints or whatever. And I was really astounded and appreciative of the fact that, I mean, this company, I think because Jimmy Buffett was an environmentalist, I think they started with the right principles. And so I appreciate very much you choosing that as the site for Steel Canyon. The other thing that came in is on Lake Berryessa. And what happened was every day there's something on Lake Berryessa, and a lot of it is obituaries. I hate to say that. People mentioning in their obituaries that how their life was impacted with their family and their community and their friends and their children by recreation on that lake. And I was thinking how sad it is that we've waited this long for this to be developed by a really good developer. So I'm really excited and appreciate the fact that you've chosen them. And I can tell you, as leader in that area, I will do everything, and we will do everything we can to assist the board. Also appreciating, I've also built a house, so I know how torturous Napa County can be on standards, but I do appreciate that. And so for protecting kind of the environment, choosing the right resort, making your staff very accessible to us, thank you, Lee. I just wanted to come here, thank you, and support, the extension, obviously, because they didn't have a choice in that matter. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Mr. Morrow. Anyone else? Good morning.
Good morning, Jeffrey Lake. I was the vice president of the senior center at Lake Berryessa from 2019 to 2020. The only reason I stopped being the vice president was because of the fire and my house burned. What I learned from the residents was everybody is waiting for a resort to happen up there. And I got to know the entire community during my term as vice president. And this will provide jobs for the young. There's nothing for them to do as far as work. Most of them just do weed eating or things like that. And I know that all the businesses up there were impacted by having no resorts, and everyone was struggling. So I completely support that a resort is up there. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lake. Other public comment? Mr. Dowdy, did you want to speak now?
Tim Downey, thank you, Chair Cottrell, for your
course.
earlier guidance. Just to say, I am an ardent, enthusiastic supporter of the Lake Berryessa Revitalization Program. Mr. Wilkins, thank you very much for your efforts. And to thank the board and the Napa Berryessa Resort Improvement District for your extensive past works in evaluating these and ongoing efforts to bring a qualified concessionaire like Margaritaville to operate at Lake Berryessa. Such a concession would provide far-reaching social and economic benefits to Napa County and the Bay Area, and much-needed economic boost to the Lake Berryessa region. Obviously, there's a lot of work to be done. Raising my hand to help and progress that vision, if asked. Thank you again to the board and the district for your time this morning.
Thank you, Mr. Dowdy, and thanks for your patience here. Anyone else who wants to speak on this item?
If there isn't anyone else, this might be a good time to invite Mr. Wilkins to present
With a
as
few
well,
more comments.
after the public comment.
Thank you very much, Board. My name is Paul Gallagher, active member in the Monticello Ski Club, also sponsor for Cast for Kids, and I want to thank Lee for all of her help with that 2 years ago. I think that the concessions moving forward, especially with Margaritaville, are very important socially and economically, not only for Napa County, but all the surrounding counties. I mean, people come to Napa County not only in limos or jets, but Middle America to use recreational facilities. And by closing Lake Berryessa 20-plus years ago, we've lost that opportunity. The user days, I think, are down to 25% of what they used to be. I think it's one of the nicest lakes in California. I've done resort development up at Lake Tahoe. I know what it takes to do a resort, and very much in favor of seeing Lake Berryessa redeveloped. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Gallagher. Anyone else in the room? Come on up. And Ms. Hoskins, do we have anyone on the phones at this point?
Not at this point.
Okay, thank you. Good morning.
Good morning, Board. Thanks for giving me the opportunity to speak. My name is Frank Hawk. I've been a visitor to Lake Berryessa for almost 67 years. My first experience up here was in 1958 with my father when I was 4 weeks old. So we have a lot of memories over the years. High school, I came up here camping with my friends, and we recently, and actually not recently, but we bought a house in the Highlands area. A number of years ago, I've retired, and we spend quite a bit of time out on the lake, volunteer for all kinds of activities, and we would like to see some development of the lake. We've seen 2 false starts so far since the Bureau shut the lake down, and we're very hopeful that Margaritaville is going to do something positive. And Lee, thank you for your efforts. If we can get the lake developing again, I think we'd see a great economic boom back in the valley. I remember back in the 80s, I would ride my motorcycle up here and have breakfast at the corners. We would wait 45 minutes to an hour for breakfast at 10 o'clock in the morning. Part of the thrill. The economy of the valley up there is poor. I know we had probably 200 plus businesses related to Lake Berryessa about 20, 30 years ago. I think we're probably down to about 20 to 25 businesses now. So we need the economic boom to come back to Lake Berryessa with resort development, and I encourage it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hawk. Any other comments? Okay, then I will go ahead and ask Mr. Wilkins if he would like to come speak.
Thank you. It's a great opportunity to be able to come here and give you guys an update on what we've been doing specifically. As you guys know, the people that are involved in the development of this project are mostly local people. I've been in Napa for 28 years. I was the original developer of the Meritage, and that this will be our 4th resort project in the Napa Valley. To give you a brief summary of what's happened, in November of 23, we signed the agreement with the county to take on the concession. We completed our due diligence in April of 2024, 2 months ahead of schedule. We completed the entire design of the site plan on the resort in October of 24. We completed our ALTA survey based on the Bureau's meets and bounds descriptions, and unfortunately, we learned in November of 2024 that the size of the concession area was much different than what we originally started with. It's quite a bit larger. So we had to redo our resort program guidelines in March of this year. The redesign of the resort commenced about 2 months ago. And we met with the feds about discussing a longer-term concession agreement. When you increase the size and the acreage and the infrastructure and the cost, it's going to be more expensive to build it, so we needed a greater period of time to get the financing. The current ground lease would only allow us to have 48 years of use under the ground lease, and the Bureau has agreed to extend the concession agreement, so we're very happy about that. That's great news. This resort is not going to be an auberge or a high-end resort. It's a family-oriented resort. There's, with the additional acreage, we're actually looking at putting a huge amount of employee housing on the site, maybe as many as 100 units for employees. Nobody else has ever done that in the history of the Napa Valley. The resort will include a water park, zip lines, a lazy river, a teen center, a kids center, 4 restaurants, and we'll be making a full public presentation this fall and getting feedback from the community. As soon as the site plan is done in the next few months, we'll begin work on the final EIR, the expansion of the sewer and water supply, which we've already done a preliminary report confirming that that's feasible. We'll be doing our utility analysis, our public report with the Department of Real Estate, and all the pre-construction work such as soils reports and technical studies. JLL is the lender doing the financing on the resort. And I'm pleased to say that overall, even with the delay on the feds, we are ahead of schedule from what was contemplated in our original agreement. And we feel very excited about the project and the support we've received. And I'm happy to answer any questions anybody may have.
There are questions from my colleagues? Supervisor Ramos.
Thank you. I just wanted to say thank you. I know this is, it feels like it's the longest, greatest anticipation moving forward as someone who grew up going to the lake and lived up on the north side of it. And I find myself with these very historic references as I get on the lake and I take tours out with our sheriff's department to say, like, oh, those foundations, that was, right? There's a lot of history there, and I really appreciate the efforts. I think that I will start off by saying that I think it makes sense to extend this exclusive negotiating period because we are on the right track. There are a few things that I was hoping that I could probably by more than comment than question, but if you have something to say, things that I think are incredibly important to consider. You know, you've heard there used to be a lot of businesses that were supporting the lake activity. And it seems like every business that is up there right now is really hanging on to a very last hope that this is going to be successful. But there's been a change in the way that the lake activity has moved around, and then there has also been a lot of devastation through fires. And so one of the things that is incredibly important when we look at policing and safety out in the lake, I'd love to know if you have any plans that you can share with us at this time of how you plan to enhance the safety around, not just in mobility, but also in patrolling around the lake.
Yeah, I should have brought up and mentioned, we have actually come to an agreement with the county sheriff's department to install their substation on the property towards the entrance, as well as other EMT facilities. And we've also been working with several fire consultants, and we've talked about making part of the resort an evacuation center for the Highland residents in the event of a major wildfire.
Thank you. I appreciate you sharing that. I think that's incredibly important to know that those types of concerns are going to be integrated into whatever program you have. In terms of mobility and, you know, Steel Canyon, one way in, one way out. And what do you foresee as how you might be addressing that in the plans?
We've hired W Transportation as our traffic consultants, and they'll be doing a thorough review of that entire situation as part of our EIR. And so it might turn out that we have to put in a center lane, a third lane in the center of the property to kind of alleviate any backup or traffic congestion, and we're prepared to do that. That's in our budget.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Thank you. Supervisor Alessio and then Supervisor Gallagher.
Thank you, Mr. Wilkins, for being here, and Lee, and also our Public Works Director, Steve Letter, for this presentation. This is really, it was motivated by the question about the invasive mussels, and so I want to go back to that really quick. I didn't see in the report that any have been identified, and which is a great thing if I'm understanding correctly. Have we identified any of the yellow mussels?
Actually, there were some found on a houseboat at Pleasure Cove, but they did not let that launch. I think they came over there to launch and they were dead, already on there, but they
Okay.
did find it. But other than that, none.
Okay,
None have been
great.
detected.
Great, and I appreciate that we're being proactive and following a best practice, as you say, the Golden Star of Lake Tahoe. So thank you for that. I too, as a fourth generation Napa, and spent my childhood up at Lake Berryessa. We didn't have a speedboat or skiing. We fished. So I remember going and getting fish bait, the minnows, and going out there in a little fishing boat or on the shore and fishing up there. But it used to be such a vibrant area. And, this reminds me a lot, Mr. Wilkins, and I thank you for this, not only because you're part of this community, you understand this community, and you're collaborating and working so closely with this community, that this is, in some ways, if you will, similar to what the social and economic boost that the flood project gave to downtown Napa. Downtown Napa was a ghost town. It needed a path, it needed a way for it to be a place, for it to be viable, for the community to be embraced by community, to be that economic boost that now brings the city of Napa over $30 million a year just in TOT, not to mention sales tax. So, which goes back, it's not held by the government, it's given to the public by the government through those economic engine. And just the sense of community up there. I know there used to be a lot more people up there, but they've had to leave. And the comment made about the younger generation and having viable, careers up there, and the housing. That's huge. Thank you so much, because we have talked about incorporating housing with development, workforce housing with development for a long time, and you are breaking the barrier on that in a big way up there. So I just see so many attributes to this project. I'm also excited to see it, in its lived real form. This is not an easy project. It's probably, I would imagine, maybe the most challenging project you've taken on. I would only assume so, just based on all the environmental and all those aspects that you have to go through the county and the state. But just thank you for this, and that's all I have to say.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Alessio. Supervisor Gallagher.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Wilkins. And I, just to piggyback on Supervisor Alessio, I was just curious about if you had more information about your plans to do workforce housing. That's really wonderful, and I'm sure adds a whole new dimension to the project. But as you plan to be, I think, of great interest to this board to hear more and more about your plans for that.
Yeah, the southern part of the property, there's a large area that wasn't used previously that became part of the boundary, and we've done our preliminary site planning, and we figure we could do at least 100 units of employee housing on that property, and it not only benefits people working there, but it'll also help with congestion. The part of the benefit is some of those employees that work there will be allowed to use that housing as part of their compensation. So they're not having to pay rent for it. It's actually a benefit of their employment. And the project is projected to provide over $40 million of TOT revenue to the county per year. So it's also a huge stimulus financially.
Great, thank you so much. That's a good model, and thank you for bringing us that.
Supervisor Manfree.
Thank you. This is really helpful information, and I appreciate everyone being here today to share it. I'm curious about the phasing for the construction and which components of this project you're anticipating building first, second, third, and so on and so forth. I have a couple other questions, but I think we better do this one at a time.
Yeah, the project will be done in about 5 phases. The first phase will involve most of the infrastructure, and the public presentation that we'll have this fall will have more specific information about the phasing. A lot of financial analysis has to go into that, and until we have the site plan finalized, we can't really finalize our construction cost, and then we'll be able to figure out how it works from a phasing standpoint.
Okay, great, thank you. And then, as much as you know at this point, what are the anticipated use numbers like seasonally and then also annually?
It's going to be geared towards a year-round resort. During the off-season, we know that we'll be full on the weekends, but during the weekday, we're going to be putting in almost 10,000 square feet of meeting space, and we hope to host a lot of small groups up there.
Okay, and then as far as the employee housing, which again is a really wonderful model to see, we definitely need more of that everywhere in the community. 100 units of housing, I'm thinking this is probably 200 to 300 people adding to the lake community who are going to be there full time. And tell me if I'm wrong in my spitballing on that one. But what kind of services do you anticipate would support a community of that size being added to the area, specifically with fire readiness and preparedness, electric vehicle charging, because the state of California is still on track to be rolling out a big increase in the number of electric vehicles, and for a remote location like that, I don't know if that means a microgrid or a new substation or what, but that's a pretty substantial lift to try to keep pace with what the state's goals are for transportation systems. And then of course just grocery shopping, like are there going to be amenities enough to support those people not having to commute really far just for the basics and healthcare, things like that?
In the core of our property, we actually have a full market that's going to be there, so people can buy groceries, not only gifts, but the public will have access to that, as well as the 4 restaurants in the resort. So there'll be day use by the public of a lot of the facilities. So, the other benefit too, which I didn't mention, is that we're having to spend a substantial amount of money to upgrade the sewer and water facilities. And those improvements, which are going to be over $10 million, will benefit all the residents up there and prevent the county from having to keep coming in and doing temporary fixes.
I think that was it for my, my questions. Thank you.
Thank you for all the questions. One follow-up I had, first of all, to say thank you. You and I met several months ago in St. Helena to just chat about the scope of the project. I think this is before you knew about the expanded boundary. So thank you for being here with this update. One of the things we had talked about at that point, too, was the notion of a public lakeside trail that I think that's been long an interest of residents, and I would imagine it would be an amenity to the resort too.
Yeah, yes, on the northern part of the property that's all new, there's actually existing trails that we're going to be expanding and using, and those will be available both to the public and the guests.
Okay, great. And so will the trail continue around the boundary of the lake?
I don't have a map with me, but if you go up to where the residences are, up towards the northern part of the lake,
Yeah.
There'll be an access from there onto the trails, which will go all the way around the lake and then down towards the property. And
Okay.
we're actually putting in some zip line courses. They'll end right where the zip line courses go.
Got it. So I will just continue to communicate my interest in seeing as much public lakeside trail access as we can get out there.
Right.
So thank you very much. And just to echo the interest in the workforce housing, I think that's a great new element. And, I will say the public comment that I've received on this project is by and large very positive. If there is a concern, I think it's around fire. So I appreciate the questions about emergency response and wildfire readiness out there.
In working with Lee too, we also understand that we might be paying for upgrading the Capel Fire Station. So we have a full-time fire consultant that's working on the project. So we're
Great. Thank you. It's really great to get these status updates. So
great.
So with that, I will bring it back to the board. If there are not further questions, I will ask for a motion.
Thank you.
If I could just make a
Yes.
couple comments
Oh, sure.
before you. I just want to follow, one comment we've heard from the community in the past is about traffic on Steel Canyon because of the location of the front entrance gate. When it's busy, the traffic will sometimes back up onto the public roadway while they're waiting to get in. So actually, to make clear, the board's not approving any specific design today, but one of the things we'll be looking for is some way of either multiple gates or the gates being further back so that while people are waiting to get into the resort, they don't back up onto the public road, and that should resolve that public comment, if you will, or concern that we've heard from residents of the Highlands. I also just wanted to mention the length of the management partnership agreement, the MPA, which was a 55-year agreement signed between the BOR and the county. We're now in year 4 of that, give or take, and it's going to take some time for the resort to develop, which ends up leaving 50 years sounds like a long time, but actually a relatively short time of operation to amortize the major investments that any developer is going to have to make on this project. So we have engaged the BOR to ask if that contract can be extended, and we've received some positive feedback, although we don't have a final answer on that. And I will just mention that we've been told by the couple of BOR staff that we've been dealing with that their office has been decimated by staff cuts. So it's very difficult to say when we're going to get that final feedback. We have been working with Congressman Thompson and his office to try and push this issue along at the Washington level, and we will continue to pursue that issue. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate that.